Today, exactly 2 weeks after the FBI searched Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence, the ex-president is suing to temporarily block the FBI from reviewing documents seized from his home. The motion filed today asks a federal judge to appoint an independent special master to review materials seized by the government. The motion is 27 pages long. It asks the DOJ provide an inventory of property seized at Mar-a-Lago and that any materials seized that were not within the scope of the search be returned. It also contains the same openly threatening message that Trump had his lawyer apparently relay to a Justice Department lawyer on August 11th that reads, quote, President Trump wants the Attorney General to know that he has been hearing from people all over the country about the raid. If there is one word to describe their mood, it is angry. The heat is building up. The pressure is building up. Whatever I can do to take the heat down, to bring the pressure down, just let us know. Congressman Eric Swalwell is a Democrat of California, a member of the House Intelligence Committee, and he joins me now. Congressman, this sort of threat was reported, I believe, in the New York Times earlier. Now the president committing it to print in a court filing. What's your reaction to that?
Merrick Garland, Chris, is not going to be threatened. That's clearly the case here. This is a position it's also clear he does not want to be in. But, you know, the days of Donald Trump, throwing his weight around or threatening the Department of Justice clearly are over. He doesn't have Bill Barr or Whitaker or Jeff Sessions, to do his bidding anymore. But we do need a full accounting of, one, most importantly, what documents did Donald Trump have that were top secret, compartmentalized? Two, were these documents given to other individuals? Who else had access? Were they digitized? I'm afraid that they also could have been, uploaded into an online format. Three, we know Donald Trump interacts often with foreign nationals. Were they given or passed around, or did foreign nationals have access to them? And then why, Chris? Why did he have these documents? They say that my colleagues on the Intel Committee on the Republican side say it's for his memoir. Donald Trump just published a picture book. He's not writing a memoir. So the why is also very important here.
Yeah, I'll play Mike Turner, who has been going around sort of defending the president, making that point. Take a listen.
What use could a former president have for classified or top secret information once he's left office? Why bring it home with him to Florida?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you'd have to ask him, but certainly we all know that every former president has access to their documents. It's how they write their memoirs. They don't have, great recall of everything that's occurred in their administration.
I should note that's, again, Mike Turner on the Intelligence Committee, your colleague on that committee. New York Times apparently just reporting just now, to your point about the number, the scope of this, there were 300 classified documents apparently at Mar-a-Lago, which, again, Jesus. I think, what do you make of that number?
I mean, that's a lot. And just for your viewers' sake, the reason that they're marked top secret means that it often relates to force protection for our troops. So information about where our troops are that we would not want anyone to know because it could put them in harm's way. It could relate to our nuclear posture or the nuclear posture of our adversaries. It could relate to the technical means that we use to collect information to protect our troops and to protect Americans, or the work that we're doing to combat terrorism. And so 300 pages, a basement stairway away in an open, beach house is not where you would want that information, especially in the hands of somebody who President Biden deemed should not even be able to receive classified information.
There was some reporting earlier today that the Gang of Eight, which is a group of people that have special intelligence oversight duties under statute, wanted to be briefed, essentially, on the Mar-a-Lago documents. And your colleague, Congressman Adam Schiff, who's the chair of that Intel Committee, seemed to knock that down today. I want to play what he said and get your reaction.
There was a report that the Gang of Eight requested a briefing on the affidavit or the other materials. There's no request that I'm aware of that has come from us. Individual members of the Gang of Eight have expressed interest in learning more.
Are you confident that folks can be trusted, your colleagues can be trusted with a briefing such as this, given some evidence that, for instance, in the past, I believe Richard Burr is said to have, filled the White House in after a confidential FBI briefing?
No, I'm very concerned that my Republican colleagues have showed themselves that if they're giving classified information, they will use it to protect. They'll manipulate what it is, or they'll pervert the information to protect Donald Trump. And so I think what Mr. Schiff was probably alluding to was, if this is an active, ongoing investigation, of course, as custodians of classified information and an individual branch of government, we want to know what the battlefield assessment is of where it went. We also don't want to jeopardize an independent investigation. And by the way, Chris, all of the moves that have taken place as it relates to this investigation have been at the request of Donald Trump. The FBI didn't publicize the search. Donald Trump was the one that acknowledged the search. The FBI was not the one that said, let's make all of this public. Donald Trump said this should all be public. And so Merrick Garland and the DOJ said, fine. And now it's Donald Trump who wants the affidavit to be out there. So every damaging piece of information that hurts Donald Trump is at his own request.
Congressman Eric Swalwell, who serves on the House Intelligence Committee, thank you very much.